apply for PR?
Okay, this is another extremely loaded question. And many factors influence your PR application, permanent residence application. Let me talk about the general approach first, and then I will discuss the specifics. There are a couple of specifics which I would like to share as well. Okay, the first thing, your permanent residence in Canada is influenced greatly by the work the student does. Okay, the work experience is absolutely important, and their language skills, that is either English or French. We would limit ourselves to English because most of the students I associate myself with are from English speaking countries. English is extremely important. That is why work experience is so important, and work experience is gained when they are on a postgraduate work experience. I mean, postgraduate work permit. Now, one thing must be remembered here is whatever work they do as a student will not be considered for your permanent residence application. So they have to complete their studies, and then they get the open work permit based on their study, the duration of their course, and that open work permit, whenever they work during that open work permit, determines their eligibility for permanent residence. Okay, the regulation states that you need at least 1 year work experience to qualify for permanent residence. Therefore, if you take a 2-year program, and on completion of the 2-year program, you obtain a 3-year postgraduate work permit or the open work permit, then you can apply for permanent residence after you finish the first year of work experience. Okay, as long as the work experience is in skilled category.
Yes.
Okay, this is one approach. Okay, so the student comes here, takes a 2-year program, completes the 2-year program and gets the 3-year work permit, and of the 3 years work permit, 1 year they work full time,
Yes.
and then they can apply for permanent residence. Now let us focus on some of the other specific programs which can fast track your permanent residence options, and I will limit myself with just 2 such programs. Okay, today there are several, but I'll just limit myself with 2 such programs. First program, today Paulinsis recommends our students who have high academic scores and in bachelor's or master's to take a 14-month master's in education. So anybody who has got high marks in their education, in their study back in their home country, we recommend that they take a 14-month master's program in education. This program is so good for permanent residence based on the current provincial permanent residence opportunity. So as soon as the student completes the course, the province would nominate the student for permanent residence.
Awesome.
Yeah, they have to apply for it as soon as they finish, and the province, and if they are selected, the province nominates them for permanent residence. No need for work experience. Permanent residence needs work experience, but this program does not require work experience. Okay, and no waiting. Excellent program, and everybody must speak to your Paulinsis counselor. Very unique program for those who have good scores, good marks both in your curriculum as well as in your English. Okay, now I talked to you about the second unique program which we normally promote, but I cannot talk a lot about this program because it is limited to certain regions of Canada. Okay, so we'll discuss that. When you speak to your Paulinsis counselor, you can discuss that with them. Certain parts of Canada are underpopulated. Okay, and the government is trying to attract immigration to these parts of Canada. There are several universities and colleges in these particular parts of Canada, and studying there could fast track your permanent residence application. Okay, so keep this in mind. One such province, for example, is Nova Scotia, where a federal program, immigration program, will encourage students to apply for permanent residence. without skilled work or experience. They don't need experience too. They don't need work, they don't need experience, as long as the employer fills a form for the student. So they can just obtain a job, and an employer can fill up a form for the student, and they can apply for permanent resident. We would encourage students to speak to your Polinsys team to learn more about this program, and that way you can try to approach this program, which will lessen the risks of getting permanent residence. There are no guarantees, however, it only lessens the risk. You can obtain some extra points because of your study in Canada. Normally when you study in Canada, you gain some extra points because of your education in Canada, but those extra points are not qualifying factor for permanent residence. Your work experience can qualify or disqualify you. Okay. However, any extra points will help. Okay. So there are federal immigration opportunities through the Canadian Experience Class, okay, CEC. There are several unique options as well from provincial level and pilot programs of federal options. Okay, take advantage of all of them. Don't delay, attend your next free webinar to learn. Okay, or speak to Jason, and he will also
Yeah, I can emphasize
advise
more.
the students on some approaches.
Yeah, it's extremely important to attend the seminars because, first of all, they're free and they're extremely informative from the reviews we've gotten from students so far. So yeah, like I said, check out the Student Herald website and it has a ton of info. Yes. Now another thing Student Herald does is promotes the Polinsys preparedness program. And can you go a little bit into the preparedness program?
The Polinsys preparedness program is that we have a separate video.
Oh, separate.
Yeah, and we will link that video to this group as well. But that's one of those programs which the Student Herald always encourages the student to sign up for. That's because you have an authorized representative constantly, every month, talking to you on different types of approaches and how to handle your job situations, etc.
Yeah. So a bunch of students from Student Herald that I've talked to have said that they've benefited a lot from that program. So it's definitely really worth checking out as well. Now, which documents do students need to apply for permanent residency?
As a student, they need not worry much about documents for permanent residence at this point. Okay, but now saying that, we normally encourage students to get prepared at a very early stage, but first your job is to get admissions, get your study permit done, pack your bags and get ready to leave. It is true that permanent residence documents are quite elaborate. They are not like the study permit. Study permits are very simple. The permanent residence documentation is very, very elaborate, but we can address that later. There are some things, however, you may want to complete now if you can. Okay. Now, one of them is, see, I have traveled. Now, okay. The first one is, if you have lived in any country for over 6 months, okay, in the past, and just for example, if your parents have been traveling around and working in different countries, you might have followed them. And if you have lived in any country over 6 months, and you do not have any intent to visit those countries again, you may want to start the process of obtaining police clearance certificates, okay, from those countries. Okay. If the second option is, if you're currently a professional like a nurse, you may want to begin your professional certification in Canada, which will increase your permanent residence option. There are some other factors too, but it is based on individual situations, and we will address them when normally Polinsys will address them after you get your study permit done, and also during the pastoral meeting services which we offer, pre-departure sessions, you will understand the other documents which are required for your permanent residence, which you can keep in advance.